Hello everyone and welcome to another Modswell video. I am your host Maxwell. Today I'm going to be sharing my immersive load order. I have essentially tried to build a game with tons of new role-playing mechanics designed to make Skyrim feel that little bit more real. Before I begin though, I just want to thank everyone for being so patient with me as I moved into my new place. It took a little time to set everything up, but I am back and ready to go again. Anyway, let's talk about the new order that you're currently seeing me play on. I think immersive has a pretty broad definition. For the sake of this load order, what it means is I'm attempting to create a more realistic world, filled with survival features, improved graphics and mechanics, better NPCs in all the ways that you can experience them. Essentially, the goal is to create a willingness to suspend the player's disbelief. Skyrim is a fantasy game. Dragons attacking you probably doesn't happen in your daily life, and I'd take a guess that you aren't often using magic either. So I wanted to bridge the gap between realism and fantasy by using daily routines to draw you in. The first mod on my list to help achieve this was realistic needs and diseases. With this mod installed, you will need to stay on top of the physical condition of your character, bringing in mechanics that make eating, sleeping, drinking have actual effects on the gameplay and the strength of the character. This is essentially an alternative to I Need, which you could definitely use if you wanted to. I Need actually has a little bit more functionality, however it is slightly more finicky and takes more mod slots, so I tend to go with realistic needs instead. I'm also pairing this with Frostfall, which is going to add in similar mechanics that focus on the environment and how that can affect you. This mod takes many things into account, such as what you're wearing, where you are, what time it is, what the weather's like, and more to create a temperature system in the game. With this installed, a normal walk in the wilds can be made infinitely more challenging as the seasons turn colder. What you wear will have a huge impact on how you can perform, meaning changing clothing and armor is now far more worthwhile. Something wholly missing from the base game, where I basically just race towards the best stat armors and then have to watch those for the rest of the playthrough. This pair combines extremely well to create a more difficult Skyrim to survive in, if you aren't on top of your routine. Thinking is going to be somewhat required. Next up is Campfire, and I've added this one in to act as the answer to the potential difficulties imposed from the mods before. With this installed, you will be able to create a warm camp to hunker down for the night. These camps have a fire which will work to warm you up, a cooking pot to help meet your needs, and of course a tent to shelter in. I've been becoming a bigger and bigger fan of this mod the more I use it, and find myself confused as to why camping wasn't in the base game. Alongside these is the last of my, well of course you use that mod, Hunterborn. With this installed, the ability to roleplay as a hunter becomes possible. Not only does this mod add in new features to make interaction with animals far more fulfilling, it also switches up the economy system for you so hunting becomes far more viable. To call this one of the best roleplay mods would honestly be an understatement. Those are the kind of obvious parts though, aren't they? So I decided I wanted to make another set of changes. The new mechanics have somewhat made the disconnect between the player and the character a little bit smaller, and I wanted to build upon that. Your own thoughts was a good place to start. This mod changes HUD dialogue for the first person perspective, and what's more, there are patches to include the text added in both Campfire and Frostfall, which helps with the overall cohesion. This is a really simple mod, but it is a nice touch for those who play with their HUD turned on. In a similar vein, I've also included At Your Own Pace. This is your game. If you don't want to do something, then you absolutely shouldn't have the quest cluttering up your menu. Simply overhearing a task doesn't make you want to do a quest. At Your Own Pace is going to stop auto-activated quests that take place by being in the vicinity of certain NPCs. You will now have to approach them and decide to take the quest on, which seems reasonable. And what's more, there are patches to include the text added in both Campfire and Frostfall, which helps with the overall cohesion. This is a really simple mod, but it is a nice touch for those who play with their HUD turned on. In a similar vein, I've also included At Your Own Pace. This is your game. If you don't want to do something, then you absolutely shouldn't have the quest cluttering up your menu. Simply overhearing a task doesn't make you want to do a quest. At Your Own Pace is going to stop auto-activated quests that take place by being in the vicinity of certain NPCs. You will now have to approach them and decide to take the quest on, which seems reasonable. Maybe though, Maybe you're feeling a little bit different though, and you want to go and do some small side quests. Me for example, I love a good bounty, and as such, you will nearly always find either missives or notice board included in my orders. I usually want to improve the rewards for those bounties as well, but the one thing I have to do if I want to be realistic is use the mod Headhunter Bounties. This is going to give you some control over how you can approach your new quests. Say for example you have to go and kill a bandit leader. You still have to go about the quest as usual right up to the end of the fight, where you can decide if you want to kill or arrest the chief, accessing a new dialogue tree that leads to the bandit being taken to a local jail. You can even visit these jails and see a limited number of the prisoners still being held captive. The mod also works for dragons and giants, who you can let go as long as they promise to behave. They're likely a little bit too large for the standard jail cell. When it came to NPCs, I had a hard time settling on what AI package I thought would work the best overall. Whilst I'm a fan of immersive citizens, it no longer gets any support, and as I understand it, the authors want to retain complete control of their work, including patching. AI Overhaul, whilst maybe not as complete, is still being developed, and it's far easier to work with overall. On top of AI Overhaul, I am also using Reputation, so the roles different NPCs can play in your story will be different. Reputation changes how NPCs react to you depending on what you have accomplished, either positively or negatively in your playthrough. I enjoy this mod as the dialogue I hear can change from play session to play session, adding in a little variety. This combos really nicely with AI Overhaul, as the behaviours in general, as well as in relation to you, can differ so vastly from visit to visit. It adds some depth to otherwise poor and boring NPCs without having to just add in hundreds of great new ones at a massive cost. That being said, I really wanted 3D NPCs in this order, but the space just wasn't there. Although, maybe when you look through this order, you will be able to find space by dropping things that help me suspend my disbelief, but do very little for you. Other than these changes, I have largely stuck with the spines of older orders, which you can find littered throughout my channel. I have, as always, left my order exactly as I have it in the description below, so you can go and check that out for inspiration or a finished article. It's all up to you. Alongside this, I've also left links to some useful communities like my Discord server, which I promise I'm going to be spending far more time in the coming months. For those of you who really enjoy the order, you can also find my donations page, although as always there is zero pressure on that. If this video has been helpful, I would really appreciate those likes, comments, and of course subscriptions. They help push my work out further with YouTube's algorithm. Either way, thank you all for your patience, and I hope to see you in the next one, which shouldn't be so far away.